Hi, Arise family. Welcome back to Let's Study. It's a series here at Arise where we're studying a chapter out of the Bible every single day. So, I want to tell you guys, of course, before we get started, to go over to CandyNicoleRise.com and get your copy of your Bible study alone. Today, we're going to be back in 1 Kings, and we're in chapter 10. And today, we're talking about the famous, I believe she's kind of famous, at least in the prophetic community, because of her name, Sheba. Everybody named Mama talked about some Sheba, but in a different kind of way. So today we're going to be talking about Queen Sheba, which is definitely the prophetic reference to that queen. But we're going to be talking today more about Queen Sheba, who comes over to visit King Solomon because she hears about how much wisdom, wealth, and just how magnificent he has set up his kingdom, and she wants to learn and glean from him. So let's read a little bit more about Queen Sheba's visit. The Queen of Sheba heard about Solomon's fame, connected with the name of the Lord, and came to test him with difficult questions. She came to Jerusalem with a very large entourage, with camels bearing spices, gold, and great abundance, and precious stones. She came to Solomon and spoke to him about everything that was on her mind. So Solomon answered all her questions, and nothing was too difficult for the king to explain to her. And the Queen of Sheba observed all of Solomon's wisdom, the palace he had built, the food at his table, his servants' residence, his attendants' service, and their attire, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he offered at the Lord's temple. It took her breath away. She said to the king, "The report I heard on my own country about your words and about your wisdom is true. But I didn't believe the reports until I came and saw it with my own eyes. Indeed, I was not even told half. Your wisdom and prosperity far exceed the report I heard. How happy are your men! How happy are your servants of yours, who always stand in your presence, hearing your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God. He delighted in you and put you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he has made your king to carry out justice and righteousness." She then gave the king 4.5 tons of gold, a great quantity of spices and precious stones. Never again did such a quantity of spices arrive as those that the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. In addition, Hiram's fleet that carried gold from Akahor bought from Akahor a large quantity of almug wood and precious stones. The king made all the almug wood into steps for the Lord's temple, and the king placed palace and the lyres and harps for the singers. Never before did such almug wood arrive, and like has not been seen again. King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba her every desire, whatever she asked, besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. Then she, along with her servants, returned to her own country. So they exchanged precious goods from each other's country. Queen Sheba brought him lots of gold, spices. All these things are very valuable in this time. This almug wood was basically a very rare wood, okay? And so all these things were given to Solomon from the queen, but she didn't leave empty-handed either. He actually bestowed gifts upon her whenever she left to go back to her kingdom. The whole purpose while she was there was to receive wisdom from Solomon. She saw what it is that he was doing in his kingdom, and she really wanted to take some of that back to her kingdom. So that's the exchange that happened amongst the two of them. So let's continue to read in verse 14. It's telling us more about Solomon's wealth. The weight of gold that came to Solomon annually was 25 tons. besides what came from merchants, traders, merchandise, and all the Arabian kings and governors of the land. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold. 15 pounds of gold went into each shield. He made 300 small shields of hammered gold. Nearly 4 pounds of gold went into each shield. The king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. The king also made large ivory throne and overlaid it with fine gold. The throne had 6 steps. There was a rounded top at the back of the throne, armrests on either side of the seat, and 2 lions standing besides the armrests. 12 lions were standing there on the 6 steps, one at each end. Nothing like it had ever been made in any other kingdom. All of King Solomon's drinking cups were gold, and all the utensils of the house of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. There was no silver, since it was not considered as nothing in Solomon's time. For the king had ships of Tarshish at sea with Hiram's fleet. And once every 3 years, the ships of Tarshish would arrive bearing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. King Solomon surpassed all the kings of the world in riches and in wisdom. The whole world wanted an audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom that God had put in his heart. Every man would bring his annual tribute items of silver and gold, clothing, weapons, spices, and horses and mules. Solomon accumulated 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen and stationed them in the chariot cities. And with the king in Jerusalem, the king made silver as common as Jerusalem as stones, and he made cedar as abundant as sycamore and Judean foothills. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and Cu. The king's traders bought them from Cu at the going price. A chariot was imported from Egypt for 15 pounds of silver, and a horse for 4 pounds. In the same way they exported them to all the kings of the Hittites and the kings of Aram throughout their agents. He had a lot of money, y'all. He was past balling, okay? He had a huge amount of wealth. Solomon is making shields that are 4 pounds of gold inside of them. He's just doing ridiculous things, y'all. Like, who needs a shield covered in gold? You're going out to war. Why would you need a shield that's 4 pounds of coated in 4 pounds of gold? There's no reasoning for this. This man had so much money, he didn't know what to do with it. That's what, basically, if it would have been in modern times, he would have been like, I got a new Bugatti. Like lots of Bugattis. Everybody named mommy get a Bugatti. You get a Bugatti. Am I even saying it right, y'all? I'm probably saying it wrong. But you get a Bugatti. You get a Bugatti. And you get a Bugatti. Everybody gets a Bugatti. Okay? But basically, this is all to just make you understand how much wealth, an immense amount of wealth that he had. Tomorrow we're going to pick up in chapter 11, 1 Kings chapter 11. I hope to see you back here tomorrow as we continue to read. You guys have a blessed day.